Got a special show for you today. The host of Blueblooded, a college basketball show. He is Ryan Hammer. He's got a modern perspective on the game, analysis, interviews, all kinds of fun games, and much more covering all of college hoops. We're going to talk to him about the Big East and maybe have some fun with him about some of our fictional characters, but really kind of break down where we are from a Big East perspective coming up on Big East Energy Weekly. All right, welcome back in. We got Ryan Hammer with us. Ryan, coaching in the Big East, it's a lot of personalities, a lot of guys who are, super accomplished. I mean, even if you look at Thad Matta, who may be on the bottom end of this, is a two-time Final Four coach at Ohio State. So you really have there's no shortage of guys who have been there and done that, right? So if you had to give us, and we can go 11 through 1, but I'm curious who your top 5 is. Who would be the top 5 coaches in the Big East if you go 5 through 1?
Yeah, I'm going to start. I think it's easier to start at the top because the middle is sticky and the top is not sticky at all.
Sure.
It's Dan Hurley at number 1. It's not a question to me. And Pitino at 2. That's to me, that's undisputed. Pitino's awesome, but Dan Hurley, his off years, we're still winning a tournament game and being a good team, and they're going to be fine. He's also the best coach in the country, probably, like him and Sampson and a couple of guys like that. But Dan Hurley 1, Rick Pitino 2. This is where it starts to get sticky. That's why I started at the top there. I go between, I probably put McDermott at 3. And I'm going to keep Kevin Willard out of this, I guess, for now, because he was a Big East coach.
He was.
I guess he
successful one too. You can.
Yeah, no, I don't really want to. I'd probably go McDermott and then Shaka, and then probably Richard, Pitino, and Willard together, I'd say.
So you're going Hurley 1, 2 Pitino, 3 Mac, 3 Coach Mac.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
4 Shaka.
Yeah.
And 5, who you got?
I'll go Richard Pitino.
Richard Pitino. Wow. Baby Pitino at 5. Okay.
Yep. And maybe Willard should be there at 5. And I think it's the top 6 is clear. So
that's the official.
Sure.
I'm even though we're doing the Big East Weekly show, I'm not going to debate you on 1 versus 2 because I have Hurley at 1. But can you understand why certain guys in our organization, in particular, are talking about how they feel like Pitino should be 1, based on if we went through an entire body of work?
I like
body of work. That argument.
Body of work doesn't count 2013 and 2014 to me at this point. Like, history of success is good, but they both have a great history, whether it's last 5 years or 10 or 15 years ago. So at that point, they're both all-time legacy-wise. Like, Pitino's all-time legacy, for now, I guess, is up above him, but above Hurley. But they've both done more than enough. And I think Pitino gets a lot of credit now, as he should, for flipping the St. John's program around. And it's not been easy. It's not been easy to recruit there until now. It still really isn't so easy. It's not easy to have a winning style with the guys that he had last year and even this year maybe, but he does. But Dan Hurley did the same thing for UConn a few years ago, flipping that program around. And just because he's not doing the dirty work anymore like Pitino has been, doesn't mean that he's not a better coach. Hurley's the best coach in the country. You can't knock that.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
But I'll take up for my guys that are interested in hearing that take. The only other I think the only flip I had there is I don't have Richard at 5, and that's fine. Yeah, I think you can argue 5 through 11, all the way through. But the reason why I put Shaka at 3 over Coach Mack is the only thing that's missing in Coach Mack's resume is a Final Four. And I know that sounds harsh, but I think the criteria we used is, overall legacy and coaching right now. And I think there's no wrong answer. I mean, if someone said to me that's not right or I don't agree with that, okay, then you're right because that's your opinion. But Why do you put Coach Mack above Shaka?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm wearing the VCU shirt also. Like I gotta have respect for that. But
Havoc.
And I do, but like that Final Four isn't enough for me so long ago to separate them. And McDermott is a much more consistent coach. He offers a much higher ceiling for a program that has maybe now has less anymore, I guess, than Marquette, but Shaka has Texas also. Like McDermott's been only at Creighton. If you put Greg McDermott at Texas, I think they might have won a national championship at some point. Like I think they would have been that good. So I think McDermott's that good of a coach. I don't even think it's a conversation in terms of schematically set up. So Shaka, energy-wise, I love him. He has good success. He has the Final Four, but it's a Final Four off of a crazy run. So
yeah, I mean, you acknowledge. I think we both acknowledge that. I think sometimes that just can be luck. There was a time that Coach Mack is essentially people in UConn are going to murder me for this take, but that's okay. The Jim Calhoun of his time, right? Because before Jim Calhoun won 3 national championships, I don't know if he can win the big one. He's never been to the Final Four. Had these incredible teams in 96, 94, like all these teams that should have probably been there that didn't make it. So I don't know. Maybe are we going to see a Creighton title in the next few years before he hands it off to Coach to Alan Huss? I don't know, but I do feel like there's a little bit of that where he's been a little snake bitten.
Yeah, and I don't think their best chance to win anything was a year and a half ago, I guess, whatever. That team was unbelievable, and they were a Final Four caliber team. They were a year before that also when they lost to San Diego State. Like they've been there, and they've been the quality of it. They just haven't been able to crack it. And once Kalkbrenner left, it was kind of over.
Okay. All right. You brought this up in a I think a Twitter thread about the Big East ACC merger. I'm going to try to find the clip of me talking about this before Coach K and all of his clout took away all of the cool things I said pre-Coach K. But he's obviously more succinct and has an idea, and obviously Rick Pitino's involved, and you brought this up. It's the Big East ACC merger. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really interesting concept. I do understand that most people laugh at it because it's so like there's so many teams. Yeah. But break down, if you will, like give us like a 30,000 foot view of the way you would do this if you ever did have a Big East ACC merger.
Yeah, listen, I've been proposing promotion relegation in college sports forever. It's such a utopian society thing because you need everyone to be in on it. But the reason why I think it's so beneficial, even to big schools that aren't good in rev sports, like it's relative to sport quality in each program at each school. So like Boston College, I always go to. BC could be tier 1 in whatever the region they are in ice hockey, and then they could be tier 1 million in basketball. Like that's how it's going to be.
Which is an actual depiction. I'm kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, seriously. But the Big East ACC, like there's no Big East football. So the ACC football still stays ACC football. So that's not like a change. Although like the idea of it is not to catch up in football for ACC because like that they're not going to catch up to the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, even the Pac-12. I think is going to surpass them once they reform. And it's to build a basketball powerhouse to be the one unique conference that does that in the country and kind of owns that. And a conference of all these teams of UConn, St. John's, Marquette, Creighton, and then throw in Duke, Carolina, NC State, Virginia, Louisville. Like it may be every other year. It's not the best or whatever, but it's one of the 3 or 4 best, like in that upper echelon, which is great. How I would do it would be promotion relegation. And Pitino has talked about adding Dayton and St. Louis. And then in my opinion, VCU comes and Loyola and whatever, like say you add all the A10, if you're going to do promotion relegation, that makes sense. You have 42 schools. If you kick Stanford and Cal out back to the Pac-12, which I like has to happen at some point anyway. But it's 42 teams. You have 14 in each tier for basketball, at least, and for most sports that aren't football, obviously. And then top 3 or top 2, whatever it is, and bottom 2 or 3 go up and down season over season. And the biggest thing, the 2 things I think this solves, because people right now, college sports fans, are sick and tired of, especially in basketball, the spending and quality gap, or the spending gap that leads to a quality gap. And that's why we had no Cinderellas this year. It was 1 year. And yeah, it's a real thing, but it was 1 year, and that not eliminates that issue, but it minimizes that issue because you'd have spending ranges that each tier has to be in. So I'll take VCU, for example. If VCU is in tier 2 and then they go up to tier 1, they're going to have to be in the same spending range that Duke and UConn are. Doesn't mean they're going to spend the same amount of money on the roster, but it means that they're not going to spend as little as they are now compared to them. And the money will be there for them if they're in tier one, because more donors, more people wanting to get involved in the program, better media rights, rev shares and stuff like that. So the money will be there. And then it also de-influences players from transferring. Like, people transfer up right now to get more money and to be in a better conference, a better competition for pro aspiration and whatever. And if you let teams build something over time, and if they win, they move up to that top tier, what's the reason to transfer? You're playing at the top tier, you're getting more money. So it'll be easier to retain players. I know I just kind of rambled a lot, but
no, you're good.
I pray we get promotion relegation at some point in college sports. It's never going to happen though. So
you don't think it's ever going to happen?
No, unless the NCAA allows something like this to happen, on only these few conferences can do it on their own, and that's fine. Everyone else can still function as their own thing. Then maybe it could happen, and then maybe it rolls over into other leagues. But I fear that it has to be a top-down thing, and that's what the NCAA will say. And then they probably don't even consider it. They hear it and they laugh.
Yeah, I wonder if you think they would ever, like, essentially. It sounds crazy, but I guess you couldn't do it this way, because you know how I think you're too young for this, but back in the day in the Big East, they allowed a year or two where you could have 6 fouls, and it was like the just in conference, and like you played a regular game and it was 5 fouls in the NCAA tournament, right?
Yeah.
That's something small, but we're talking about something very large that would take a lot of planning.
It doesn't even change that much. Someone asked me like, "Oh, what about what about auto bids for NCAA tournament?" I'm like, "Well,
that won't matter.
Tier 3 still gets a bid, like just like the A10 does. Like, it's the same kind of thing. So all the bad teams, quote unquote, like someone still gets in. You just don't have to force Duke and UConn to play against Boston College twice a year and Seton Hall and whatever. So
no, honestly, it makes sense to me. And I like it, because I think we're going toward that like professional European model anyway.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I like it. We'll see what happens. What do you think about these Big East coaching strategies in terms of, like, I'll use my show Hoops Cap. We do obviously all UConn. UConn is using kind of a retain plus roster building strategy is what I'm calling it, right? So they try to retain as many guys as they feel like our culture are good for their culture, and obviously their production. You have the Alex Caravans, Solo Balls. You still have Terrace Reed, those guys, Jalen Stewart, and then they go and get good recruits. Plus they get transfers. So it's not all transfers. It's not all huge, monster classes. And they added 2 international players just yesterday. So there's like retain plus, and then there's transfer plus, and then there's kind of like the Duke model, which is like just reloading every year with 5 or 6 5-stars. Like, what do you think is the best remedy? And do you think it just matters about, styles?
Yeah. The best remedy can't be done by everybody in the current landscape. I talked to Evan Miyakawa about this the other day, or last week, like, the recipe for success in college basketball is you return 40% plus of your minutes from last year, and then you fill in the gaps how you need to. Kind of like you said about UConn. Now, UConn is in a very privileged position to be able to do that because they're UConn. And when you win national championships, players want to stay and players want to come play for you. So it makes it easier to put that together. That's why Purdue, like Matt Painter and Purdue, is a very unique program. So it's easier for them to do that than other Big Ten schools like Michigan, who are losing everybody every year so far. Creighton is kind of similar to UConn, where I think they do a pretty good job at retaining guys for the most part, maybe not to the same caliber, but I think Creighton does a really good job at that. And I look at the other programs in the conference, like St. John's, a lot of them also, it's a short-term thing. Like St. John's, we've seen them be good for 1 year. So like, we don't know how if it's going to be the same kind of build, but year over year so far, it looks similar. They bring in as good of players as they possibly can, and then they're just going to figure it out. And sometimes that works. And when you have a great coach, I think that works a lot better than when you don't have a good coach. But there are other programs like Butler and Georgetown are just doing their best to try to be something. And I think to do that, you have to just try to bring in as many players as you can. You can't pass up on guys that you could make work in some way. And I think Marquette is probably the one oddball school or odd one out in a good way, I'd say, because they tend to not really bring in anybody, but they also tend to really not lose anybody either. So like they are, it's kind of like Michigan State in the Big Ten, also very similar. And Michigan State at a higher level nationally, but both of them haven't been able to crack the national title contention code, even though they've been good the last few years because they've been able to retain players. So it gives them a high floor, but it kind of lowers their ceiling by not bringing anybody new in.
So take kind of not NIL, take like the money out of it. Do you think that's do you agree with the title, the thought of some people who are like, hey, the teams with the most money are ones that are always going to be, winning titles? Because I always push back on that. There's, like you mentioned, UConn and Purdue. Those are two great examples. Do they have money to pay players? Yes. Now, especially now with rev share, but they've also, I mean, it's kind of like you run your own business. I kind of run my own business at the same time. And so like, it's one of those things where, when people go, oh, wow, you did something really cool there. You go, yeah, but you didn't see the 100 hours I worked on behind the scenes to kind of get it to that point. Right. So do you understand? I mean, do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
Like,
I get what you're saying.
Do you feel like it's too simplistic sometimes when we say, hey, well, the top teams are just have all the money?
Yes and no. At the top echelon, if you're spending $15 million, $12 million plus on teams, like they're going to be good. They're not going to be awful. There's just no, it's a known thing. Evan and I, again, studied deeply about like portal classes of if you bring in the best portal classes, you spend the most money, your team has a good floor. You have a good floor.
Mhm.
Majority of them, if not all of them, are going to be tournament teams outside of like USC last year, who it was 1 year and first year for Must. They're probably going to be a tournament team this year, doing the same kind of thing. So I think when you spend a lot of money, yes, those teams will always be good. But it doesn't mean who spends the most, right? Like I think once you get past a certain point, and it's kind of an arbitrary number, I don't have one for you, but say it's like 7 or 8 million that Duke and UConn spend on their team. They're not spending the 15 that a Kentucky goes to spend. Though they can both be national title contenders, but it doesn't mean that like you have to spend a certain amount. I don't know what that amount is because I don't have those numbers that everybody's spending. I wish I did.
Right. I wish we all did.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you have to spend a decent amount to win a national title, to put that kind of roster together in this day and age. But it's not just whoever spends the most wins. It's yes and no. Yes and no.
I got you. No, I agree with you. All right, it's not really a break, but I want to give you some love here. Talk to us about Blueblooded.
Sure.
Obviously you have a new college basketball show that you do. I think it's just give us the details. Anyone that doesn't know already, Ryan started a new college basketball podcast. So talk to us about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll shameless plug anywhere I
Please.
can right now. We just got off the ground going, and it's still August, which is crazy, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. It's still early at mid-August, but just got going, and we're on the episode 3 or 4 coming up this week. We do a lot of social work also, but the podcast, I am doing my best I am making it not your average college basketball podcast is the goal. Like I'll do similar stuff of breakdowns and rankings and predictions and whatever, and like recaps like everybody does. That's how the sport works. Like I want to talk about what's going on in the sport, but I just feel like in sports media in general, there's such a big hole for authenticity and positivity more than anything. But not just all fun and games, like combined with actual analysis, which I'm more known for. But I want to be like a modern perspective on college basketball for everybody. And I mentioned that gap in sports media. I think in college sports, in college basketball specifically, there is just like a very small amount of a younger up and coming modern perspective in the sport and covering the sport. So I want to be that. I know video and podcast is huge and much bigger than writing these days. And the medium is kind of changing that way, and college sports being so traditional, the coverage stays so traditional. So I want to help push that along and kind of be the face of the modern perspective of the sport. So that's what you'll see in the podcast. Like I said, combination of seriousness and then fun and games and whatnot. So I love a lot of college sports podcasts and college basketball podcasts out there, and different shows like we're on and stuff, but I still want to always be different. So
no, and I think you're doing a great job. People can find it on YouTube. They can find it on Apple, Spotify, etc.
Yeah, everywhere, social media too. Where obviously I come from social media background, so that's been a big part of not only the content that I'm making, because I know the value in the social aspect of it, but also to get it off the ground. It's helped a lot. So
Absolutely. All right. In that same vein, I messaged you. I was just like, so I wanted to have you on, but I also wanted to do this because I did this with Roosevelt Jones, one of our Butler hosts, and talking about fictional college basketball players or basketball players in general of all time. And it wasn't, and the first person I told was Brian, who does our Seton Hall show. He was just like, well, you got to have Space Jam people. And I was like, no, I'm not doing animated. No animation. So like real people and real actors. And so I did a little bit of that. And then I saw your stuff and it just tied together where I was just like, like minds, right? So yeah. I started doing these like profiles. And so I'm gonna pull up a few, and they don't have names on them. And I want to see if you can give us who you think this fictional person is. I'm going to pause for
person, or are they
fictional? It's a fictional basketball player.
Basketball.
And,
that's what I was getting.
Yeah. And so it literally, they could have played somewhere. And so we were doing Big East, but I want you to give me like, if you guess it right, then I want you to give me who you think the top 3 schools are.
I might be awful at this because of it, but we'll see. We'll see. It depends on the movies you're using and shows and stuff.
We'll find out. Okay. All right. So we're going to play this game with Ryan here. First one, I'm going to give him an easy one because I think everyone's seen this movie. His eyes got real big. That's okay. I'm gonna put it on the screen. If you have a hard time reading it, I'll read it out loud.
Sure.
But this is just for effect. So can't put the high school. His about me is essentially he's a guard from Indiana. Really good shooter. I think it was about 6'3", listed. Unshakable focus. Known for hitting game-winning shot in the title game. Developed a discipline in the motion office system with impeccable fundamentals. Shot 98% from the free throw line. Was a 50% shooter from the floor. Definitely a pure shooter. His hobbies are all basketball related. So I kind of made stuff up, right? Late night solo shooting sessions at the local rec centers, studying the game film. Who is this Indiana legend?
I know it's got to be Hoosiers.
Mm-hmm.
I am terrible with the cast in this movie. Didn't they have was it 2 brothers or something? I forget. What was it, like Butcher or something like that? One of them.
Butch is the name at Hoosiers. Yep, but it's not Butch. Although I do have a profile for Butch, and I'm not going to go searking for it.
Okay.
But he's more of like he's a Division I prospect, but he's not a star. Like Butch is like your lockdown defender, glue guy, role player.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the names of the shit. Like there was like Butcher.
Yeah, Strap, which is also another one.
There was was that Walker? There's a Walker one, right? Too. I remember that's about it.
Nope. I think Walker was a name too, but this is
I don't. So Hoosiers, I've seen the movie. Not one of my favorite movies either. So I've seen it like once or twice, and that's about it. So I remember it, but I'm not gonna be able to get it. I knew it was Hoosiers though. I'm happy about that.
You're half right. Okay, yeah, so that's fine. It is Jimmy Chitwood.
I'm never gonna forget it. I wouldn't have gotten that. No shot.
Some call him Himmy Chitwood because he was him in that movie. He doesn't say a word the whole movie, except for like twice. Once to help Gene Hackman's character keep his job, and then once at the end in the huddle, and he just looks at the coach and says, "I'll make it." That's it.
Okay,
those are his lines. It gives me chills just thinking about it. So we're gonna take that off the screen. This one again is it's a difficult one because it's an older movie, and I know you're younger than me, but this is also an iconic player, fictional player. This one is from Crenshaw, so LA district, very flashy guard. Hobbies. I always go to the hobbies because it kind of gives you some clues. He has a wife and kids, so he's older. I joked around that Creighton's in his top 3 list because of that. And so we have.
It took me a second. I'm like thinking about it. I'm like,
So we got family time with wife and kids. Trash talk is an art form. Dancing and making it look pretty. It's so pretty. That's a line from the movie if you can remember it. And I don't know if that doesn't give it to you, you might not know who that is. Who do you think this fictional character is?
I'm just reading on all the what's it called? I think I like the in-depth analysis, and you have the top 3 schools in a crystal ball, which is crazy.
Yep.
First of all, I'll say I saw Crenshaw, and my mind immediately went to what's it called? What's the show out now? All American, the recent show. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know the show.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably Spencer James or something like that. What's it called? Not Shuttleworth.
It's not Jesus Shuttlesworth. That's an easy one too.
Is Love and Basketball out in LA?
Yeah, it is, but this isn't Love and Basketball.
What about White Man Can't Jump? Maybe
it is White Man Can't Jump.
Is it Sid?
It's Sidney Dean.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew Sid. Okay. I'm just going through like basketball movies in LA in my head. Because there's a few of them now that I think about it. But the quotes didn't get me, but obviously I know the movie. So
yeah, that's from when they first meet, and he's telling the the Woody Harrelson character, it's like he said, this ain't that country club shit you're used to. He's like, the wind picks up or whatever. So like, yeah, that's an iconic scene. It's Wesley Snipes. I actually have the
he rocks.
profile of him with his face on it, and maybe we'll get to that later.
Nice.
This last one is, we're actually having this gentleman, like the actual person who played him on the show. Do you remember and I'll just give you the name, because actually I'll wait. I will play the game. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Now I know I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, this one is like a deep cut. Let's see here. We got from Chicago. That's a fictional St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic school.
Okay.
The key to this one is, if you know this movie, it's a central theme of the movie is the word TV, because he's taking TV as a class and he's failing it.
No, I have no idea what it is.
So it's from Blue Chips.
Yeah, not one of my favorite films either.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Did you watch it and just like, we're like, like it just was ahead of, like,
yeah, for the most part, but
thing?
it was a while ago also. I probably got to give it another chance.
Yeah, I think it's worth a watch now, especially kind of with the whole like paying players and how that was such a huge deal, because that's what this is about. So this is Tony. Doesn't even have a last name. Tony from Blue Chips.
Just Tony.
Just Tony. And I reached out to Tony, whose actual name is Anthony, on Instagram, and he said, "Yeah, man, I'd love to come on." So I'm gonna have Anthony Hall on the show. Nice. He's gonna jump on and talk about his experience on Blue Chips and working with Shaq and Penny and those guys. The best thing about this character is everything around Penny Hardaway's character has to do with Tony, because they went to the same high school. It's how Nick Nolte's character gets ahead of the line to talk to the principal at the school, the fictitious school. And yeah, Tony's character is big. It's big in name only. He doesn't play a huge part because everyone remembers Shaq and everybody. Yeah, but Tony's a big.
That's why I was like, Tony, I'll never get.
Tony. Yeah, man. Like those are. I mean, and listen, I love doing stuff like that. So like, what you're doing on your show, we love. Keep it up. Like there's no separation of like. I think it's needed. You're right. Like there's plenty of us. There's plenty of other folks that cover traditional, but we like to. You want to mix it up too, and so I love it. Last topic. I'm wearing a DePaul shirt. I love having DePaul in the conference. I love having that part of the country in the conference. Do you think some of the lower teams in the Big East, like a DePaul, like Butler, who was once at the top of the mountain with Brad Stevens, or close to it, do you think that there's an avenue for them to compete and get to a top part of the Big East?
Not in the near future, I'd say. Like maybe in a couple of years. I just don't think this year. Definitely not. Butler maybe more so than DePaul. They've started to look like decent on and off, but I don't see the top end talent on their team. And you see the quality of the Big East, like the bottom of it. Whoever's at the bottom is not going to be good. It's going to be damn bad, and it's going to be half the conference, which is the real problem. And in that sense, it just takes down the entire quality of resume and strength of schedule and things. So that's why the Big East and also the ACC, like they've both struggled to get teams into the tournament the last few years. Big East hasn't bridged past 5 since the pandemic, at least. So before that, I don't even remember, but I want to say yes, because like DePaul looked a lot better last year. Now being a lot better than what they were 2 years ago is winning anything at all, winning a couple of games, but they looked better, like a competent basketball program. I still don't think they're going to be amazing at all, and I know they're not going to be. So I don't think they get out of the Ducks of the Big East. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be like a respectable team to watch every now and then, but I think between them, Georgetown also, like Seton Hall, I don't see coming out of the bottom either. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, talk to me about Georgetown. They dipped into the portal a little bit with Langston Love and others, and they have some decent players coming back. Like, and again, UConn fans will kill me for this too, but is Ed Cooley, plotting one of his versions of Dan Hurley of It's Coming, soon, where he can potentially no shot.
No, that's not like that. Dan Hurley, he said that with a vengeance.
I mean, I don't compare the two, but I'm trying to make a correlation. There's a difference.
I've actually literally recorded a YouTube video before this. I'm gonna post it later today. And I was literally sitting and I re-recorded it because the Georgetown part, because I was like, I wanted to go back and talk about like, man, like growing up, Georgetown was a 1 and 2 seed or a 5, whatever. They go to a Final Four. They were awesome. Like, where has that gone? And it was like only like about a little over a decade ago, they were good. It's not that long ago, but it feels like a million years. They're not going to get back to being prominent, I don't think. I like Ed Cooley as a coach. I just don't. He did a good job flipping Providence, but the way he's roster builded at Georgetown so far and for this year, I don't think is quality enough to be like really dangerous. They don't have great bigs. Like Vince Iwuchukwu is like, I liked him coming into like out of high school, but he's not been enough to be on his own. And they have a lot of guards and a couple of wings, and I think they'll be decent, Georgetown, but I don't think they're going to make this astronomical leap. Like, could they be a sneaky tournament team? Like at their ceiling, I think that's what they are. But I don't know. The pressure's on for Georgetown. That's the essence of the video. Like the pressure's on for a lot of these teams. So
let me ask you a question around a comment you made literally 2 seconds ago, which is you said it feels longer. Like, do you think that because, and you know this because you've been in this social media age, do you feel like that's the reason why it feels longer? Because there's so much coverage, there's so much attention, there's so many people making content that it almost feels longer. Like 10 years is not that long.
Yeah.
Like it just isn't. So if Georgetown takes 5 more years to get going, is that an issue? Or is that, I mean, maybe they have it to get another coach, but like, it's really in the grand scheme of things, it's not typically long.
It's not, but I think it's also the way the sport is run now, where like teams will just flip like that. Like,
sure,
Drake is Drake, but like Ben McCullum might do the same thing for Iowa this year. Like you throw Danny Sprinkle might do it for Washington and whatever, and like coaches come in and then things get completely flipped like right away, and then the good coaches do it well. So Todd Golden at Florida, obviously a good example. Like so I think that's part of it, the content, social media realm of it also, because like if you think about like Villanova, they've won 2 national titles in the last 10 years. It feels like it's really recent, that one to me, because maybe it was also the age I was and like whatever, and how much I paid attention. But social media doesn't let you forget about those 2 national titles. There's a million things of film and highlights and whatever, and Brunson being good in the NBA and the Nova guys, I think helps that also. But I think it's just being so accessible on social media is a huge aspect of it for sure. Where like Georgetown, only like 4 or 5 years earlier than that, they had great years, and that is like erased from planet Earth, basically. So,
all right, last segment of the program. I know we're on the Big East Energy Weekly show, and we appreciate you being on and talking to us about all things Big East. But as you know, college basketball is a larger sport other than the Big East. So we want to kind of branch out and talk about. I'm going to pick a school from each conference, and you tell me if they're ascending, if they're stagnant, or buy stock, low stock, however you want to sell it. So here it is. Around college basketball programs to Washington East Conference. I'm going to start with the Big 12.
Sure.
This one is, I wouldn't say personal, but I have a really good relationship with the coaching staff at Cincinnati. What do you feel the prospects of Cincinnati? It feels like they've kind of been stuck in neutral right now for the last couple of years. What are your thoughts?
They're like the definition of stagnant to me. It's spot on, but they haven't been bad. They're like borderline tournament team. And I think I haven't seen it fully enough, but my gut tells me I've seen enough that Cincy ain't going to be that. They might bounce in out of the tournament in a time or two, but they're not going to be anything prolific at all, in my opinion.
Okay. That's the Big 12. Let's go to our friends in the ACC, Louisville.
Impossible to say they're not trending up. Pat Kelsey's awesome. First year, they are talk about complete flips like we did before. Complete flip to be a very respectable, good program with a high floor of a lot of transfers. Now they return guys. They're filling in the gaps, kind of like the recipes for success we talked about earlier. They're bringing in 3 guys. All 3 are awesome. Mikael Brown and a couple freshmen obviously help fill the gaps too, but they're doing the right things. Pat Kelsey, they have a ton of money to spend also. A lot of resources, great fan base. There's no pro team nearby, which is huge also. So Louisville's on the up and up as much as anybody.
Okay. I'm gonna use an abbreviation so I cannot spell Tennessee wrong. Tennessee, UT.
What was the it's tough.
Yeah.
So wait, you say UT, it's funny. I think Texas is UT, but Tennessee fans get mad at me.
If you were in my house, you get slapped on my wife because she's a Tennessee gal. Don't do it.
I can't. It's Tennessee. UT is Texas to me. It's weird.
I think and I think the reason why Tennessee people are pissed about that is because UT trademarked it, but forever, like before that people would have called Tennessee UT.
Okay,
at least in that region, but likely nationally they call it UT. Now, I have the similar experience down here in North Carolina. When I first moved here, someone said something about USC, and I said,
it's ridiculous. I know people that went there from up here in Jersey.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, I'm going back down to USC. I'm like, you're going to Cali? That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild. Tennessee is stagnant, but a good stagnant. Like they're consistently with Rick Barnes, top 10 team in the country, basically every single year, and it feels like that. It feels like they're not going anywhere. Their floor is always so high. But I say stagnant because I don't think he's going to win a national title there. They've never gotten to a Final Four. To think they have not been able to get to a Final Four with the Connect teams and through the Zakai Ziegler years, like, is actually pretty astonishing. I know that they played Zach Edey and it was the Connect Edey game, and like it is what it is in Indianapolis. It's just like they haven't been able to crack that code, and I don't think Rick Barnes is going to be able to. So stagnant sounds bad, but it's not the worst thing in the world when you're top 10 every year. So
okay, fair enough. All right. I'm going to give you what I would consider a blue blood when I was growing up and maybe not so much anymore. What do you think about Indiana's prospects?
Oh, man.
the size says it all.
It's just confusing. Like, I like Darian DeVries.
Yep.
Their team, again, they should be a tournament team this year. They're like I said that we said this last year. And the year, like, it's tough. I'll say slight. I would purchase, if I had to buy stock or sell, I'd purchase slightly because I know they're going to be better with Darian DeVries than they were with Mike Woodson. However, that's going to look, maybe it's not this year. I would slight purchase, but not all in by any means.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll do not really in the Pac-12 yet, but give me Gonzaga.
It's a big purchase. They've dipped. I'd say if there was a stock, whatever, they trended down a little bit. And I think people are starting to get worried about their ability to win a national championship. But I think when you look at why they haven't been able to win, a couple of years they just ran into a brick wall, or like 2021, they ran into Baylor in the title game, and like UNC one time. Like, it just kind of happens, whatever. They've been the caliber of a title team, obviously.
Sure.
It's a huge, I do think that if you play in a worse conference, you're not as good as suited. I don't know how to say this properly. You're not as well suited to win a national championship at the highest level in March because you play your conference games right before you go into that national tournament. So I think the WCC has had an effect on them for sure. And the quality or the lack of quality, top to bottom in the WCC, put them in the Pac-12 with all those great Mountain West teams and Wazoo and maybe if Oregon State's half decent, but all those good Mountain West teams going into the tournament, I think that makes a legit power conference, and I think that's what they need if they can get back to their recruiting ways. I think that's going to help them get back there. Like, they need to bring in a guy like Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren. Like, they need to go back to that avenue and try to get back to that to be able to be a national title contender again. I think going to the Pac-12 will get them there. So I've always been a Gonzaga believer, but I'll stand on that.
Okay. Last question in this fun category of around college basketball. What's the mid-major to watch?
That's a great question. There are, I could go off for hours.
Give me a few.
Yeah, I'll give you one for sure. Loyola Chicago. I think the A-10 I'd say are mid-majors kind of. Like I go back and forth of like because like Dayton and VCU don't feel like mid-majors, but like Loyola does. So I'm like, Loyola is going to be good. Drew Valentine, 3 years, they've gotten better every year. 25 wins last year. They were good in the NIT. They had a good finish to the season. They were a good defensive team. They're getting their point guard back. Miles Rubin's coming back. They're big. They're bringing in a couple of guys that are really good players from power conference levels, like Dom Harris and Josh Ola-Joseph. They're going to be a really good defensive team. I think their floor is high in the A10. It's not easy to be a tournament team in the A10 because like you get 2 probably at best. So it won't be easy because I think St. Louis is going to be good. I think Dayton's going to be good. I think VCU is going to be good. GW is going to be good. But they're definitely a team I like a lot going into this year. I say in the SoCon, I watch for Furman and ETSU. I think those are probably the 2 teams to watch this year.
Okay.
I know ETSU lost their conference player of the year last year, Kamari Peterson, out to Washington. But I think those 2 teams are going to be good. And I'd probably stop there because if I keep going, I'm just going to keep naming a bunch of random teams. But I like those teams for sure.
Shout out Brooke Savage.
Shout out Brooke Savage. That's my guy.
One of the all-time great names in potential coaching history. I'll shout out Steve Forbes at Wake, former ETSU head coach, good friend of mine. Love him, and that's how I met Brooke Savage. Good dude. All right, we're gonna let you go, but I'm gonna have some fun rapid fire questions, getting to know you, and I want people to know who you are outside of just the stuff that you do basketball related. So, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
My gut says pizza. I love pizza. Or maybe like lobster.
Okay. What's the most random rabbit hole or like death scrolling thing you've ever been on YouTube or TikTok?
Man, if you go on TikTok live at like a random hour of the night and you just go next, it's nothing algorithm based that is for you. I promise. You get like the most random things in the world. So I'd say TikTok live late night, and I do it just to laugh and be like, "What am I doing here?" So
what's the most random thing you saw that you were like, "This has nothing to do with me"? In my
like, you get a lot of like ASMR bullshit, or like you get like someone in like a Middle Eastern country like making something in like the mud during the next day because you're watching it like nighttime or something like that, or like people making music. I don't know. You get weird stuff, but I'd say that I'm a big TikTok doom scroller on like certain accounts, like animal accounts. I'm all over that. So any kind of exotic animal, I'm watching that a lot.
If you weren't covering basketball, what career or passion would you have gone after?
Who knows? I wanted to play soccer until I was like 23, 24, and I stopped pursuing that. I honestly don't know. Like, it probably some other kind of sport thing. I need to be like up and at 'em energy wise and stuff. And maybe I'd be some kind of other like on floor, on field and court influencer or some sort. Who knows? I have no idea.
I love it. Last couple. What's a movie or TV show you've watched way too many times but never get sick of?
Office for sure. The Office is great. And a lot of the good Marvel movies from like the last phase before this one, like Black Panther, and all the Avengers movies and stuff. Like they're on TV a lot also, like Fios and whatnot. So it's hard for me to skip past one of those, and I'll watch them all again. So
okay. If you could do a Netflix docuseries or just docuseries in general, and it was about a topic that you love, obviously basketball related, what would it be on?
You said yes basketball or no basketball?
Yeah, I mean either or.
I'd probably do something like basketball wise would be cool about like some behind the scenes, like whether it's like building a program or with one look almost like Last Chance U, but not about Last Chance U. And imagine Last Chance U with like a narrator and being there and being able to talk to the camera afterwards about what they see. So something like that within certain programs, I think in college basketball would be cool. And then non-basketball, I don't know. I love the documentaries of like Gordon Ramsay does one. I think it's called Uncharted or something like that, where he goes to different parts, like remote parts of the world. He like talks about the culture there with people there. He learns about the wildlife, which I think is awesome. And he goes and they find their own food and then they go and cook it for locals, which I think that's really cool. So something involving like some kind of animals, marine biology, and food also.
All right. Since you brought up food, this is a perfect question. I was doing this with like a road trip, but now I want to do it with a dinner. So if you could literally sit down for a dinner, and it doesn't matter what you eat, but you said pizza. So let's just say it's just going to have pizza.
Sure.
And you could bring 3 guests, whoever it is, athletes, celebrities, historical figures, dead or alive. Who are the 3 people that are going to have dinner with you?
It's a crazy question. I think Mel Robbins. I don't know if you know who she is. Mel Robbins podcast, biggest in the world. She has helped me a lot on my personal growth journey and through therapy and things. And I feel like a new person last year by listening to her so much. I would love to have her for a dinner somewhere. Barack Obama, I think he is profound in the way he speaks and everything he's always been about, his authenticity and things. I've also just want to learn from someone that's been around the world and that's done some as much as he has. And man, Messi doesn't really speak good English, so I don't know if Messi would make sense. But I'll cop out and say Messi because that's my guy. Or maybe with that group, I'd love to have LeBron. Another reason, obviously basketball, sports, whatever, but a guy who has been around so much, I would love to just not even talk to the three of them. I would love to hear them talk and just be there. So
Just kind of be a fly on the wall is what you're trying to say, right?
yeah, exactly. So.
Well, that's cool, man. All right. Well, listen, that's Ryan Hammer. His show is Blueblooded. You can tell people where you can find all of your social media.
Yeah, no, my Ryan Hammer, you can search all over social media. You'll find it. Blue-Blooded Pod on most social media platforms or Blue-Blooded Podcast, I think on Instagram, whatever. But you search Blue-Blooded, one word, you should be able to find it. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who supports and stuff like that. Everybody who supports your stuff is always great. I can take that with good word. And if you guys come check out Blue-Blooded also, I'd greatly appreciate it. So
go download it. Go check it out on YouTube and all the socials. That's Ryan Hammer. I'm Mark Zanetto. We're out. Big East Energy Weekly. We had Ryan Hammer from Blue-Blooded. Go check out his show anywhere you download your podcast. Blue-Blooded Pod, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all of that. Don't forget to subscribe to Big East Energy Network for all of your Big East related news. This was a fun one. We'll see you again.